Okay. We're fighting. We're fighting to start our marriage podcast.
And this is the perfect music to fight to.
We have already said a prayer.
Restarted the show like several times.
I literally just told him that my annoyance level on the temperature thermometer is almost at the top, and can he please let it go?
I did, and I simply followed up with, "Oh, I will so Elsa this right now. I will let it go so hard," which I thought that was the perfect thing. I didn't think that would elicit more anger, but it did.
It's not so much anger as aggravation. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Aggravation.
So that's okay. Woo.
I'm Noelle.
And I am David, and usually the nagravation or naggravation is only on one sided. Today it is shared by both.
Naggravation is when you're driving and giving the person directions.
When
Naggravation
you,
is the feeling that you get when the other person is naggavating.
All right, you give naggravation, I give naggravation.
Okay.
There's a slight difference.
Well, I want to take a second here before we begin into our topic. A little plant was our sponsor a couple weeks ago, and as a thank you, they sent us this cute little mass plushie set. So all of these are for young children to learn and explore the mass. So I wanted to show that. So if you're watching, there's a little monstrance, there's a little Bible, there's a cup for the blood of Christ, there is a crucifix, and there is a host for the Eucharist. So super cute. Definitely go check them out. Lil Plant, LIL.com. And our sponsor today is actually catholicsonline.net, which is you forgot to turn your cell phone off.
With the most annoying ringtone. It's not annoying, but I do like my ringtone to be something that doesn't sound pleasant, so that I don't have pleasant thoughts related to using my phone. I want it to be an unpleasant experience, so to help with detachment. But to this day, it has never gone off in mass. I think if it did with that ringtone, then I'd probably switch to something more pleasant. But to this day, so far so good.
Anyway, our sponsor for this week's episode is catholicsonline.net, which is a fantastic resource of anything Catholic that you want. Catholic authors, Catholic speakers, Catholic shops, Catholic books, and anything that you are looking for when it comes to growing in your faith. Check out their website. It's just this huge directory of all these cool things. catholicsonline.net.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yes. Well, so our topic for today is?
It is find a wife who... Is it who or whom?
I don't know.
Yeah, find a wife who needs protection from old men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we have, when David and I were dating, we were pulling up a shopping mall, I think, and I opened my car door, and the older gentleman in the car next to me accused me of hitting his car.
Well, you may have hit his car with your door. You may have. You may have
strongly
touched it.
do not think that I did. But
it may have been
a
love
very,
tap.
very, very windy that day. Extremely windy. Mm-hmm. And so
blame it on the wind.
You know, we both got out because I didn't think that I had hit his car. So we both got out. We looked at the car. It was fine. But what did he say to me? I can't remember. Well, he yelled at me.
Did you know that he was yelling at you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you held it together. He was furious, like more furious than you were earlier at me at the start of this podcast.
Yeah. Okay. You just keep on.
So
you're like a chihuahua. You just keep nipping and nipping.
Or a tick. Just keep digging and digging.
Wow, that's gross.
All right, sorry. So anyway, he shouted something, but I think
he called me the B word.
Yeah, it was the bomb diggity.
Yeah,
he called you the bomb diggity, and all over the door, and yeah, I I looked him right in the eye. He was, still in his driver's seat. I looked him right in the eye, and I said in my firmest Catholic man voice, I said, "Hey, watch your mouth."
Mm-hmm. And
I think that's all I said.
no, you also said that is not how you speak to a lady, because then my heart went swoon.
Okay, but I don't remember saying that. All I remember saying is, "Hey, watch your mouth."
Yeah, you remember the tough part and not the romantic part. I remember the romantic part because it was like, aw, he came to my. Granted, this guy is like 87 years old, but David totally would have beat him up for me.
Yeah, he was parked in the handicap spot. I would have totally beat up an old handicap
Now,
man.
if it was at a bar or something like that, I'm on my own, right?
They have handicap spots at bars too. I'll beat
David.
up those people as well. It doesn't matter where the spot is. But you were attracted to me like the first time that I played guitar for you. This was like that when I stood up for you against this old man parked in a handicap spot. You were very much so. Your feelings were reawakened. For me.
Do you remember that scene in The Office where Kelly is being talked to in a disrespectful way by an employee, and then she looks to her boyfriend to defend her, and he is basically like, "Oh no, just leave the nice man alone," and
Kelly apologized to the gentleman.
Yeah. So he is not coming to her defense, and I think that I think I'm seeing that a lot more in our culture, where unfortunately women are not being come to the defense for. Men are not coming to the defense of women. I'm sorry.
Coming to the defense of, I would have said of, coming to the defense for many things.
They're not being come to the defense for is what I was trying to say, but that's still not. I know. Sometimes my mouth starts ahead of my brain.
Are you really that impulsive?
I just have kind of a train wreck of thought.
Listen,
verbally. I'm an outward processor.
Okay. We can only have one of those in this relationship, and that's me.
No, there's a difference between outward processing and having no filter, I think.
Processing.
But anyways, gosh. Oh my goodness. So, but the reason...
What were you trying to say?
Well, no, just... So I was at the airport yesterday, and I was traveling, but on my way, obviously, but... On my way, I was speaking with Dr. Scott Heffelfinger from the Augustine Institute, and we were talking to our children, like, how do we raise good men in this society that doesn't want good men, because they see good men as being sexist or toxic or, wanting this demure female, who doesn't have a strong personality, all those kinds of things. Or it's so every man for himself, you do you. And there's just this whole culture. So we were talking about this all the way to the airport. And then when we were at the airport, I saw an older man push past an elderly woman who was hobbling up off the jet bridge. She was a little slow, but he just pushed past her.
Was she threatening him?
No, she was not.
Because if a handicapped person is threatening you...
David,
then...
Stop. Oh, gosh. Okay.
I just wanted to establish that was not... So there was
were
no threat
threats.
going on.
It was just that she was a little slow.
Okay.
And he pushed past her. And it's not that it was to get to a connecting flight, because this was Oklahoma City. Like, this is the end, at the end of the night. And then there was another woman who's got a huge bag on her shoulder, and she's wheeling a suitcase, and she's holding a baby in her other arm, and she's on FaceTime with her boyfriend, and she's arguing with him because he doesn't want to come pick her up at the airport. She's like, "Please, the baby's heavy and I don't want to wait for this Uber. Just come and pick me up. Please, can you do this?" And he was arguing with her. He's like, "I don't feel like it. I'm tired." And I just thought, what is going on here?
Was he in the middle of a round of a certain video game, or like, did he say anything about that?
You're not helping the situation now. now I'm about to tell you how to be a good man in this society.
Was he?
No.
Was there a certain video game or something? Okay, all right.
No, he was arguing with her and telling her, what's the big deal about just getting an Uber? It's not a big deal. And she's like, I have a baby and I'm carrying all this stuff. And I just felt like I don't want my sons to be like these men that I'm seeing around me. How do I teach my sons to be the kind of man that is willing to go above and beyond for the people in his life?
You can't, because you're a woman. And there's some things that you can't do. Yeah, you can push these kids out.
How do I teach you?
You can push these kids out, but you can't help them to be men. And you can't teach me. Femininity doesn't pass on masculinity. It doesn't give off. It doesn't teach. Bestow, that's the word I'm looking for. It doesn't bestow masculinity.
No, I'm not saying it
You've
bestows.
got nothing.
I'm not saying it bestows. I'm saying it should inspire. There is something about the complementarity of men and women that should inspire each other to.
The complementarity, that's a big word, and I said it. I can see how that, from that standpoint, there would be some inspiration. But again, like, the father has to be the one that initiates, brings out, walks with, and brings forth and sends forth, just that masculinity, just as the father sends forth, or the son proceeds from the father. That masculinity can't be bestowed by the mom. My cutesy little poo. What are you going to do?
No, it's not about motherly bestowing of masculinity. That's not the thing. Mm-hmm. But it is about the mom has to teach what are the needs of women. You don't know the needs of women. You barely were friends with women until college.
Okay, that was because I grew up in the Sandlot with just a neighborhood full of boys, and I had no sisters, so I had no idea. Okay, the only girl that kissed me was my mom. That's not my fault. Okay, but God,
true story.
God healed me. God healed me of that.
I was David's first kiss,
but that was because no one would date me. It's not okay. That wasn't because I was saving myself. I'm so pure. Oh my God.
Okay.
Anyway, but that was very therapeutic to share. So again, your point. What is your point?
No, my point is that I am seeing a very disappointing lack of men and women treating each other with dignity and respect.
But again, I would say that goes back to the father. The father has a lot of role, important role, especially later on in the kids' lives, both daughters and sons. But that for a boy to become a man, where's the father in that? Because that's part of the process. And so, yeah, we've had that breakdown of family. We've had that loss of fatherhood, and as a result, loss of manhood, just all around us. It's permeating everything from just pop culture to just within the home, people's personal lives. And yeah, I think that's what you're seeing. And it took, for me in my life, it really took a journey with God the Father to bring me to that point where I could look handicapped old men in the eye and stare them down and defend my bride to be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's strength like that only comes from God the Father. Really.
Sure. Yeah, actually, I was listening to, I saw this little clip where John Christ, who's a comedian, he is talking about this men's retreat that he got invited to, and he's like, yeah, there's going to be axe throwing and knife sharpening or whatever, all this stuff. And he was like, can we just all forgive our fathers and go home? And it really is it speaks to what you're saying, that there is a loss of masculine identity if the father relationship isn't healed. In the same way, I think there's a loss of feminine identity if the mother relationship isn't healed, and you're kind of searching and where's my role, and resisting because you don't want to fit into a stereotype, but particularly one that the culture says is bad
but listen
or
to
toxic.
listen to what you just said. It's obvious you're not listening to what you said. So it's going to take a man to explain
Mansplain.
what you said. Basically, basically, like you're saying like how can I show my sons, how to treat a lady? Again, that goes back to the father. How I treat you. How we interact together, the kids, it's a stage for the kids, and the kids are the audience. We are on that stage performing, not like, just for the heck of it, but like we're giving that example to them. They see that our relationship, again, that's how you treat a lady.
Yeah. Well, and we have had to grow a lot in this because we had a dynamic, especially earlier on in our relationship, although I think it probably still comes up at different points. But earlier on in our relationship, David's counselor told us that I need to stop treating you like a child.
Wait, I had a counselor?
For ADHD. Do you remember that?
He wasn't a counselor. He was a psychologist.
Okay.
Are
Anyway.
you saying I need counseling?
I'm saying you had it. Okay.
No,
but
I didn't. I got tested for ADHD. That's not
and he
exactly.
gave you a full consultation. I read all the notes in the file.
He was a psychologist. He's not a counselor. Wait, are they the same thing?
They're basically the same thing, David.
I think counselors would be offended by what you're saying right now. They're like, I'm not.
Okay. Anyway, the psychologist that counseled you.
Thank you. I saw a psychologist, a mental health professional.
Gosh. Okay.
Counselors are totally different.
He said, irrelevant, but he said,
regardless,
one of the reasons that you had gone in is because we were having big marriage problems.
Yeah, my ADHD got, it wreaked havoc, on our lives.
Right, it did.
Our relationship.
So around that time, both of us were seeing psychologists. And he said that I needed to stop treating you like a child, and you needed to learn coping skills to better manage ADHD and your responsibilities with the house.
Right.
But it was a very hard dynamic to get out of, because I'm like, well, I have to do these things for you or you're not going to do them. And you had to get out of like, well, I don't have to do these things. She'll just do them. Even though it wasn't a thing that we were consciously aware of, I think it was just, that's how the balance of things was. And so growing just growing as a person and growing and learning to manage a household where we had kids back to back to back, so fast, and job changes and moves, we really have had to painfully grow into how we treat each other in a healthy male and female way, that I'm not being domineering over you and treating you like a child, and you are not being irresponsible and running away from that. But we have to meet it head on and learn how to be in a healthy male-female dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, it's also our temperaments too.
Yeah.
You're more, you like to activate things, or it's not that you like to do, well, it just comes, it's your thing. Like it's what energizes you to activate, get things started, get ideas off the ground, and build things like from a goal oriented, like let's knock this out. And me, what energizes me was just ideas, creativity. I don't feel like doing the ideas. I just I expend energy just coming up with them. And that's one of the things that has been great about like our relationship is not only finding, somebody like that, that we complement each other in that, but then realizing how those strengths that we have work together, and not letting our weaknesses. See, that was the thing that caused us to go to psychologists who counseled us. It was that we saw our strengths as we didn't see our strengths, we saw our weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And then I would say one of the things that I at least have grown into is this role of, it's not just about being responsible as a man. And I think that you wouldn't want somebody who's just responsible and has, really blooming chest hair. I think that you I think that you want, and every woman
I want a man
wants,
with no chest hair at all.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, smooth epidermis.
Okay, stop.
Yeah, it's just you're not going to get that. Though I have a smooth back. Just flip
Okay,
it.
keep
Flip
going.
it. Flip it around.
Okay. I have like a hairy bag and no chest hair.
That's impossible.
Just
There's
kidding.
no such man as that.
I'm
There-
obviously joking.
But no, you raise a good point though. Have you ever seen a man with a hairy back but like hairless chest? There's no such thing. I don't believe
Okay, I
in the
didn't know.
known universe. But there are hairy chested men who have clean. I don't know what they call it. Bare backed.
Okay. Anyway,
Silverback.
moving along.
Circle. Can't even circle back. Just move forward. Don't circle back. Keep
Oh my
going.
gosh.
So
Okay.
so yeah, like you don't want just a man who's responsible. I don't think any woman would want that. That's
What do
one
you
of
mean by just responsible?
like just dutiful, like you just do the work, like every woman I think wants more than that. Like if you were just a responsible man, like that's part of the problem that we're in nowadays is that like okay, you can have childish men from a standpoint of like they just neglect responsibilities. Like there's this neglect, right? And then of course they're neglecting that, but then they're doing something else. And what they're doing usually is something immature, like that focus gets transferred to something, immature focus. But then if you had the flip side, if you had a man that was just responsible, right, but didn't stand up for you when a handicapped old man is attacking you, like that, there would be a problem there.
How would he be responsible then? How would you call a responsible person that didn't stand up for you responsible?
Because
that seems irresponsible.
Because oh, wife, because those are two different things. There's something about the protection.
You're talking about responsibility lacking virtue?
No. Maybe. I don't know. But help me
Okay.
process this. Now I'm thinking out loud. What I'm saying is that a man who there's two different things. A man who is protective of his family, and a man who is responsible. Like whatever he does the dishes, takes out the trash.
I see where you're going with this. Because when you were saying women don't want a responsible man, I was like, pues.
Yeah, you say that. You want the dishes done and the trash taken out, or the dishes taken out and the trash done. But you say that, but when the intruder comes, the handicap intruder comes, trying to get into the house, like all that goes out the window. Like who cares about the dishes? All right. And so that's one of the main things I think we need to reclaim. And that's, I think, one of the things that we found also in our family is that when it comes to family life, in this day and age, wow, the amount of spiritual attack, never mind the handicapped intruder trying to break into the house, the amount of spiritual attack that you will undergo as a family, and the role of the parents there, and specifically the father, that was something that we grew into, like found like, holy cow, this stuff is real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that, so the verse where that everybody hates in scripture, where it says, wives, be submissive to your husband, and husband.
I don't hate it. I kind of like it.
all the ladies.
Yeah, let's be specific. Who has the problem here?
Well, I think I've learned that each of us has special graces specific to the vocation of marriage. And I do trust not necessarily your responsibility to get everything done around the house that you're supposed to do, or whatever, like clean the gutters.
I have better ideas that I have to do.
Better ideas that I have to do. I have other things I have to think about. I
can't be bothered by that.
I'm having ideas.
Oh, imagine if I used that as an excuse. Like you were like, honey, can you please help me? Hon, I'm having ideas right now. And I put up a hand.
Guys, leave
like
your
this.
dad alone. He has ideas. Okay.
Can I get you your pipe and your slippers, honey?
No,
these are all great ideas. I think we should disregard them so quick.
But there is, I've learned through lots of trial and error, but to trust the grace that you have to preserve the vision for our family, and like where you think God is leading our family. I've learned to trust that. And I've learned that kind of submissive under the same mission as my husband is really a beautiful thing because of the grace poured out in marriage. But I think that also, we've been listening to the new podcast on exorcism, The Exorcist Files, and
you got me into that.
Just that, yeah. Well, it took me a minute to get into because I thought it was really cheesy at first. It took me.
Did you really?
The third episode. If you're going to start with that podcast, I would say start with the third episode because it's a little bit easier, and then the other two episodes aren't as cheesy after that. I don't know, but either way, just the lack of spiritual protection for the family that we also see. It's not just that, okay, the dads who are being great and they are working hard and they're providing for their family and they're going to the sports games, but the spiritual element too is a lot of times what's missing, that our family is under attack every day from the enemy that wants to rip us apart, because he knows if he rips us all apart, then our children are going to struggle. And then there's generational wounds that over and over again. And so it is a battle. And
right.
I feel like we each fight that battle in a different way. But in the model of St. Joseph, there's that, how am I, how are you as a father protecting your family from that enemy? Not just from poverty, job loss, putting Band-Aids on the boo-boos.
The outlets don't work in the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
But what about that enemy?
Yeah, that's. I think that the lion pride is a good imagery there. You got the females that are going out and doing the hunting and feeding the kids. Which hunting you usually associate with men. But they're preparing the meal, and then the male lion is just like lying there.
I know. He's
like
lying there.
Yeah, that was your pun, not mine.
Well,
I would have had something much worse. But don't we get, like, if the man, if a man did that in the house, bring me my pipe and slippers and fix some food. Right. Like, if he had, like, if there, well, yeah, that's what our society would call the lion pride, like absolutely horrific, an example of male toxicity, right there. But right there in that image, you see the perfect example of the father doing the job of protection. Like, that's what a male lion, what they really do. They are protecting the whole pride. And so, yeah, I mean, sure, there's going to be dishes to be done. And I guess, like, yeah, maybe I've seen some nature videos of the male lion helping with the hunt. Like, if there's a huge hippo that needs to be taken down, all right, the male lion, I can't just sit around thinking of ideas. I should probably help. There's going to be things that have to be done. But the primary lie that is going on nowadays is that men think that they have to be the provider of the family. You are not the flipping provider. Like, it says more times throughout Scripture that God will provide. God's Father, He will provide for your family. He will not let the jar of oil go dry. He's the provider. You are the protector of the family. Like, if Adam spoke up when he was standing there with Eve during the temptation, if he stepped in and said, "Don't talk to my lady like that. Watch your freaking mouth, you stinking snake." You armless.
You're distorting when you're yelling into the microphone.
I was getting into that. Yeah. Watch your mouth, you handicapped reptile. Like, Anyway, yeah, then this would be totally different,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
By the way, I didn't mean to be insulting like there to any type of reptiles or handicap.
this is what I said. You have no filter.
Oh my god!
We're going to do a podcast.
I just
called,
thought of like all the things that we're gonna get lambasted for. Yeah.
No, we need to do a podcast called David Filtered.
Find a wife who is your filter. Maybe that can be the next episode. Or find the wife that likes a lot of pulp in her husband. Yeah.
Pulp.
Get it because it's unfiltered.
Okay, gosh. That's the worst. So.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the things.
Circle back.
So here's an interesting thing. When we were starting to do the consecration to St. Joseph, and then we stopped because we started traveling like crazy and couldn't finish. There was a line in there that said that St. Joseph was a carpenter, and he could have made a cradle for Jesus. He could have had the most famous cradle in the entire world. But he wasn't known for his job. He wasn't known for his craft. He was known for his protection of the family, waking Mary up and fleeing to Egypt.
Right.
That was his role through that grace that he was given through marriage, through God speaking to him. That's what he's known for. And in our current culture, I feel like so much of our identity, male or female, is in what we're able to contribute to society, or what our age is, if we have a handicap, if we have a certain sexual attraction or orientation or whatever, we want that to be our identity sometimes. And I think that that's such a temptation to embrace that identity instead of the identity of I belong to God. I'm God's child. And in this vocation that he's called me to, he gives me the grace to do what he's asking me to do. And if you are the protector and I am the nurturer, and we're under the same mission, submission, and you're sacrificing yourself the way as when Jesus says, or when St. Paul says,
well, which is it?
Train of thought wreck. When St. Paul says, men, love your wives as Christ loved the church, laying down your life for them. It's not so much what I do, it's who I am. That becomes the identity. I am David's wife. I am my children's mother. I am child of God. And and I think that would help us to treat each other with more dignity and respect. Because if I don't respect your job and that's become your identity, then I'm not going to respect you,
Yeah.
Or if I don't respect this struggle that you have, that you've embraced as your identity, then I don't respect you. But I can respect that your identity is that you are belonging to God.
Well, and belonging to God is our identity and my specific identity. But then that also dictates what my mission is. And I love the way that you said the word submission, like you divided it up, submission. And so like, that's not necessarily like when you divide it up like that and you think about it, identity and how like identity dictates your mission in life. Like when you put that all together, it's like you are behind the mission. Like I'm looking, we should rename this episode like find a wife who will get behind your mission, who's on the same journey, who's on the same mission as you. So that you're not backup, like in a sense, like if I fail, you're there to I don't know, carry the flag, if I drop it. But there is this, I wouldn't say it's that like that's not the correct way to look at it. I would say it's we're both on the same mission. We're like-minded in that. And my identity is not my job. My identity is not this crisis or challenge that I'm facing or whatever. It's we are a family after the Holy Family, and the Holy Family is after God the family. God, the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, like that is family. And so we are imaged in that likeness. And so, yeah, how does that look in the world? We're trying every day to love like that. And it's not easy. It's transformative, painfully transformative, but hopefully in some aspect of that, trying to live out that Trinitarian love, people catch a glimpse of that love. They like it just whatever they catch a flash glimpse of the love of God in that, and that's the mission. And so it's like that's, I think, when you spread out that word or whatever, divide that word submission, that's what jumped out. It's like, oh, that's what a wife does.
Well, and I stole that from Annie Lynch, who's on Coffee and Catholics podcast. she first shared that with me. But I think...
well, I like the way that I said it better. I don't know if it's just the tone of my voice. Yeah, but when I said it, I just enjoyed the idea better. Yeah.
Well, we've been married for almost 14 years, and we didn't understand this the first probably 10 years of our marriage. I think that
you're never going to be ready for marriage. You get ready along the way.
right. Well, and so just as an encouragement to those who are maybe earlier in their marriage that are still trying to figure some of this out, we did not know. We were, like I said, we had to go and see psychologists. Who counseled us, and we had to. This has been a process for us, a long process of chiseling at the individual people that we were to help us to, come together fully. And I think we're still growing in that,
Yeah. But I think I'm pretty chiseled around the midsection, which is pretty hairless.
Okay. I don't want to say anything because
no,
neither of us is particularly chiseled.
Neither of us is particularly hairless.
Okay. You're
boom, roasted.
in big trouble now. So anyway,
man, this episode just like has
this is you.
This
is
has
all your
some
fault.
nuggets of offensiveness. Like we're sorry. We apologize. No filter. It's like we're on a double date, and then you just say some things, and the other couple says some things, and you're just like, let's just keep rolling. All right. Yeah.
So that I pray for our own children that they grow up and they are the people who treat one another with dignity, and I hope they meet other people who treat them with dignity, because just when I travel, I see very shocking lack of care and concern for our fellow man.
There's a breakdown going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I think everybody thinks like it's going to get worse before it gets better, because sometimes things just kind of have to collapse. And when you're seeing the collapse, it's almost better to just let it happen, and because then you can rebuild it. And I think that's what's going to happen after the collapse. People are going to rebuild, and it's not going to be in this way that is anything like the current ideas of what's going to bring humanity into the next era or whatever. It's going to be like, no, we're done with that crap. Like this stuff about like man being just the provider, or there's no such thing as man, there's no such thing as women, men are toxic, masculinity is toxic, like all that is crap, and we're not doing that. Be quiet. We're doing it this way, and because this is what works, right? That I think that's going to happen. And yeah, I'm not saying like just let it collapse from a standpoint of like who cares, but I'm saying, if you're going to choose that, if you're going to choose to reject masculinity, femininity, you're going to choose to reject fatherhood, motherhood, and you're going to deny children the rights, to a parent, a mom and dad, not parent one and parent two. If you're going to do all that, you're going to have to sleep in the bed you make. And on the other hand, my family, as for me and my household, we're going to serve the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Well, and my caveat to that, though, is that...
Wait, I just have one. What is a caveat?
Okay, I'll explain it after the show.
Okay.
My little asterisk
you're gonna
to what you
mansplain to your man
is that there is healing. There is healing.
Sure.
When we have had healing in our own loss of feminine, masculine identities, growing into that, there were wounds, deep wounds that needed to be healed, and there is that possibility, whether it's from divorce or whether it's from identity issues or fatherhood, motherhood issues, any of those types of things. There is healing, and there are resources I would recommend in seeking that healing. The JP2 Healing Center with Dr. Bob Schutz and Sister Miriam Heidland. There's Unbound Ministries and there's Encounter Ministries. Like, don't just sit in those wounds. Go find healing, because Jesus is ready and he wants to heal that. In the very first healing that he gave to the paralytic, he's defined by the fact that he's a paralytic.
The paralytic was handicapped.
And his friends lower him and bring him to Jesus. And Jesus is inspired by their faith, not his faith, their faith. And he says, my child. He doesn't call him the paralytic. He calls him my child. Your sins are forgiven. And he heals that relationship and he heals his identity. Then, to show that he has the power to do those things, he says, take up your mat and walk.
The power to forgive sins, specifically.
To heal the relationship.
Right.
And to heal his identity. So, anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was great talking.
Crying,
it was great talking to you.
It was good talking to you too. I'll see you later.
Yeah,
sometime today.
I'll see you later. Don't forget to check out our sponsor. What was the
CatholicsOnline.net. Great directory of Catholic speakers, authors, stores, everything you can imagine.
Alrighty. Well, until next time, thank you, folks. Oh yeah, they're clapping more for me than they are for you, because I am the protector, the male lion. Fix me some antelope.
Who sleeps and lays around all day.
And if you don't behave yourself, I am going to get more female lions. I'm just kidding. I can only handle one. I am no longer...
David, why don't you just stop recording like 20 seconds ago? Gosh, David.
All right. Love you. Bye.